Number 10 on our list is about having the ability to isolate certain parts of a pass defense. Now, we take a look at this and we understand that this calls for signaling out specific defenders to dictate where and when a pass should be delivered. And how do we relate that to Madden? Well, in real football, one thing they're going to do to target kind of who they want to attack and who they want to isolate is they're going to kind of hone in on that middle linebacker. So what I mean by that is, so at the snap of the ball, say Willis drops to the right here, right? Now that is going to mean that now I have a situation with Crabtree and Finley where Crabtree and Finley are going to have a one-on-one matchup, even though it's zone coverage, with the slot defender Culliver here. So let's drop Willis for the purpose of this out of the equation, because we're trying to show you what we mean by having the defender. So if he drops right, you would then have the one-on-one option to the left. You're reading that. So yes, Willis is going to start here, but at the snap of the ball, he drops right, and then that's your key. That's your focus point of, okay, I should probably target Crabtree and Finley rather than looking to Jennings, because if he runs to the right, there's potential he could be over there to defend that. So just keep that in mind, and at the snap of the ball here, you're going to see what we're talking about. Okay, I see Crabtree off of that curl flat concept in the middle of the field to now work in my advantage. So that's kind of the literal meaning of what this represents. But our Madden spin on it is the following. So the key defender is always going to be who your opponent is user defending. So what I mean by that is, okay, typically you see your opponent is clicked on to a defender, especially if you're playing head-to-head games in person. Online, though, you typically see them moving a guy around, wiggling them before the snap of the ball. So take a look at here. If you ever see your opponent using the free safety, who's always the deep defender on the far left of the field, if you ever see them using this defender, it's a good chance that if they're in zone coverage, they're in cover 3, and the free safety is responsible for the deep third. So what this usually causes is better short coverage, because they'll usually be up in the box protecting the short part of the field. And while that doesn't mean that the deep middle won't be covered, I mean, they will have the ability to drop deep, but it typically just represents that the deep middle of the field has a better chance of being open. So you need to notice that and pick up on that. And it's a small subtlety, but it's something that you need to recognize and say, okay, I have a chance here, because if he falls asleep, I'm going to make him pay. So that's one way we want to say, and one thing we want to have you key in on, which user defenders you're covering. Now, for example, if they have the strong safety, now that typically represents that their deep coverage might be better, because while they might protect short, they probably are going to give the short up and now protect deep. This is all just a small little nuance of what a user defender is. So for this example, we'll drop Whitner to the deep part of the field as a user defender, and then we're going to take advantage of the open field underneath to Tom Crabtree as he breaks to the flat to the right, and as you can see, we pick up big gains. So this is how you are keying in on specific user defenders and figuring out how that makes their defense a little bit weaker. Now, the last thing we focus on is the middle linebacker. That's the next typical guy that people user defend, user control. Middle linebacker is the third. And we know a lot of times the middle linebacker, not a lot of times, but most of the time, is responsible for the halfback. So a lot of times if your opponent is using halfback, they're going to be a half a second late when you start doing different type of route combinations with the halfback. So this example, we are actually going to place Benson, motion him out right, and then we're going to place him on a zig pattern. And while your opponent might kind of spy over there, yes, they're going to be ready for it, but they should be a half a tick late if you do different things. So what I mean by that is place him on a zig, and then he ends up being late to defending Benson out there. Then you motion Benson out right and place him on a drag, and now the first step is going to be, okay, last time you did that, snap of the ball, okay, now you have a beat on the defender, you lead him upfield, and now you can see Benson is running to daylight, running for extra yards. So that's kind of how you want to hone in and target what your opponent is doing based on their user defender and isolating that user defender to take advantage of the weakness of your opponent's defense.